Here at Fields of Green for All, we've always maintained that the legalization of cannabis is a human rights issue, inextricably tied to our cognitive liberty, my mind, my body, my choice. So it is with this in mind that for the last 7 years, Fields of Green for All has been going to the United Nations in Vienna for the Commission on Narcotic Drugs. It all started when Jules and I decided to, off our own backs, attend UNGAS 2016 in New York, which was the United Nations General Assembly special session on drugs. That certainly ignited our interest and introduced us to all sorts of amazing activists and academics from around the world. And from then on, we've tried to maintain a really meaningful international presence. If you read the first page of our website, it says that we are all about the equitable and sustainable legalization of cannabis for all South Africans, all Africans, and all citizens of the world. So it's fitting that I'm going to Vienna the end of next week to participate in the next round of talks, given that our Cannabis for Private Purposes bill was passed on the 28th of February, which was yesterday. And it is with this in my heart that I'll be meeting up with all the members of our Cannabis Embassy, which will be formally constituted this time when we're in Vienna and in the Czech Republic, with over 20 activists that are joining us in Vienna. And so we can all put our heads together, because this is a very, very complicated issue, particularly internationally, because when one steps into the Vienna International Center, or Mordor as we call it, it's not just us who know all about prohibition. It's not just us who know all about human rights and genetic resources and traditional knowledge and drug policy. It's also those people who are against any change. We're there together with Russia and Saudi Arabia and Turkey and Iran and the other prohibitionist countries. And we certainly have a good deal of prohibitionist countries in Africa. We're just starting out now, beginning to have civil society discussions throughout Africa. And that is thank you to the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, which has been holding civil society consultations regionally all around the world to draw us into these conversations and to actually listen to us in a meaningful way for the first time ever. So next week, as I said, I'm off to Vienna. I'm going to be meeting Kenzie and Michael and Farid and everybody. Some people in South Africa might have met the board of the Cannabis Embassy before when they were here in South Africa in 2019. But I'm going there on behalf of all South Africans who use, cultivate, and trade in cannabis in South Africa. Now, when we think of the South African diaspora, it might be quite strange to have a middle-aged white woman going to go and so-called speak for. But I'm not going to speak for anybody. I am going to represent South Africa. I'm also not going to go and whinge and whine about the economy and the load shedding and the terrible state of affairs here, because we must realize that there are only 3 countries ever in the world to have gone with constitutional challenges. And those countries are Georgia, which is in Eastern Europe, Mexico, which is in South America, and South Africa, which is in the southern part of Africa. And isn't that amazing that we are one of only 3 countries who have taken on these constitutional challenges? And so I will be meeting the activists from Mexico, and we'll be comparing notes and see how we've been progressing. But also activists from Europe, where there, if you've been reading the news, there's been lots of change. Germany has just so-called legalized recreational cannabis, but it's not legal. It's not decriminalized. There's still incredibly restrictive measures put on cannabis, and this is certainly not evidence-based, considering that cannabis is less harmful than alcohol. And countries like Germany are great beer drinking countries, aren't they? When we consider that in South Africa we don't have any plant counting or minimum amounts that you're allowed to possess or cultivate, but that is most certainly coming, and we will fight it tooth and nail. In South Africa we are allowed 500 liters of alcohol for our personal use. So I wonder how that would weigh up with putting restrictions on the amounts for cannabis. So that is the nitty-gritty here in South Africa, this funny little things about amounts. It's happening in Germany, it's happening in Switzerland, it's happening in America. There's rescheduling here, and there's readjusting of laws there, and there's readjusting of laws there. But still, we don't have any country where there's a situation where the police and cannabis have been separated completely. The police should only be involved in cannabis if harm has been done to a human being, an animal, or the environment. And that is one of the main reasons why I go to Vienna. Because we're talking about human beings, we're talking about animals, we're talking about the environment. Also in Vienna and mostly in Geneva at the UN, our Cannabis Embassy talks about genetic resources, about traditional knowledge. And the highlight of our visit to Vienna this year will most certainly be Fields of Green for All side event, which is called Cannabis and Biopiracy. And we're hoping to have the amazing Professor Chris Duval giving us a presentation from America. And he is the author of Marijuana and Its African Roots, which is an amazing book, and my American friends are bringing a copy over so that I can read it, not on the screen. So our biopiracy event, I think, is going to be very well attended in Vienna. It will also be online, so please watch our social media next week and tune in on Thursday the 21st of March at 2 p.m. South African time. We'll give you the links for that Zoom conference in good time so that you can write it down in your diaries. Our fellow NGOs are also holding side events: Students for Sensible Drug Policy, MAPS, which is the Psychedelic Association, NCOD, which is the European Drugs NGO, the International Association of Cannabinoid Medicine will be joining us there, as will our usual band of amazing drug policy activists. But what I am certainly really looking forward to is seeing all of my colleagues again and knowing that at least I am playing my part on that very high level, on that very big picture, to take care of some of the crises that we are facing in our sunrise cannabis sector here in South Africa. So I promise to do you proud, and I really thank our team here on the ground who are going to be at the Cannabis Expo, also on this second to last weekend of March in Cape Town. There they will be promoting our ASTM Standards Conference, which is all about barriers to entry. So there's a lot going on for the rest of March. So don't forget to follow us on social media. And I will certainly be reporting from Vienna, and I'll give everybody a full story when I'm back home again.